Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we are starting our unit on chemical reactions. So in order to do that, we first have to remind ourselves how we can know that a chemical change has taken place, and also we're just going to kind of start with the basics to see what a chemical reaction looks like on paper and how we can talk about when it will reach equilibrium. So our objectives, we're going to be able to recall and define the indicators of chemical and physical change. And our essential question, what happens to chemical compounds during a chemical reaction? So let's go ahead and get started. So just a reminder, in a chemical change, there is a change in the composition of the substance. So it changes on a chemical level. In a physical change, there's a difference in the appearance, the size, or the display of the substance without a change in the composition. So examples of physical changes would be like folding paper, chopping wood into a smaller piece, but that's not changing the substance on a chemical level. It's just modifying it in some way so it looks different, but on a chemical level, it's still the same. Chemical changes causes a change in the composition, and we can tell that this has happened by different things. So fizzing, foaming, heat production of bubbles, production of an odor or a gas. And examples of this would be like rust. So when oxygen reacts with metal to create that rust color, that is a chemical reaction, and that lets us know that it's changed on a chemical level. So when we talk in this unit about chemical reactions, again, these molecules are changing on a chemical level. So we are talking about chemical changes. So scientists use chemical reactions to describe the chemical changes, and we have to be able to define the parts of a chemical reaction. So on the left-hand side of these reactions, we're going to have the reactants. So this is the starting subject, also known as the ingredient. So it's basically what goes into the reaction. So on the left-hand side of these equations that we're going to be looking at in this unit, we're going to have our reactants. On the right-hand side, we have the products. So these are the substances that are produced after the reaction takes place. So the reactants go in, the products come out. Okay, reactants always on the left, products on the right. So here is an example of a chemical reaction, and just throwing it back to what we've learned so far in this course, we have here our reactants on the left, and we have our products on the right. And just so we know, so we're talking about it here as an intro, where we see these little, these annotations in parentheses here, so we have S, AQ, and S. That just tells you the state that that compound or that element is in. So S means a solid, and then AQ means aqueous, so that would be a liquid. So that's what those mean. But here we have zinc, right? So it's a solid, plus silver nitrate, right? And you guys know that now because we know our naming rules. Remember, everything in this class builds on itself. So we've got silver, we've got our nitrate. Then it yields zinc nitrate plus silver. Okay, so if we take a look here, this reaction, we've taken our reactants on the left and we have turned it into something new on the right. And that is our indication that a chemical change has taken place, because what we're ending up with is not the same as what we started with. So our reactants, of course, are on the left-hand side and our products are on the right-hand side. And throughout this unit, we're going to learn how to identify the different types of chemical reactions. But for now, all we have to know is that those on the left are the reactants and those on the right are the products. And also, based on what we've learned so far in this class, you guys should also know how to identify elements, compounds, and be able to name them as well. So some reactions actually are reversible. So this might not necessarily be like a combustion reaction. So if you think about burning paper, once it turns to ash, you can't really change it back into that original form of paper. But a lot of chemical reactions are. Not all of them, but some of them are. So this is where a reaction and where the conversion of reactants to products and the conversion of products to reactants occur simultaneously. So in this example, a forward reaction, here we've got some sulfur dioxide and oxygen gas, is going to produce some sulfur oxide. So we've got SO2 plus O2 is going to give us SO3. But then the reverse can also be happening at the same time. So while the SO2 and the oxygen are coming together to form SO3, at the same time, some of those SO3 molecules are breaking down and decomposing back into SO2 and O2. So on this side, we've got something called a synthesis reaction, where a new molecule is being formed, while at the same time, we have a decomp reaction happening where it's being broken down back into its original components. And as these are happening at the same time, we're going to reach an equilibrium in this reaction, which is what we're talking about today. So just know that some reactions are reversible, not all of them, but some of them can have a forward and a reverse reaction. So chemical equilibrium occurs when no net change occurs in the actual amounts of the components of the system. So a chemical reaction will reach equilibrium when there's no net change. So there's the same amount, or at least there's not a change. I want to be careful here with how I word this. There's no change in the amount of reactants on the left and the amount of the reactants at the right, on the right, okay, or the products on the right. So there's no change in the reactants on the left and products on the right. So when there's no change in them, then we're at equilibrium. Now, hopefully you watched that video, or you're going to watch a video, in your assignment today that's going to help kind of help you visualize this a little bit better. But it doesn't always have to be 50-50. So like a lot of times when we're looking at equilibrium, sometimes students will think, oh, that means it has to have the same amount of products as there are reactants. So it has to be 50% on the left, 50% on the right, and that's not true. Sometimes a reaction can be at equilibrium. Let's say there's 70% on the left and 30% on the right. It's at equilibrium if there's not a change in the amount. So it comes to equilibrium if there's no change in the amounts of the reactants and the products. And remember, reactants on the left, products on the right. Okay? So something that can help us with this is called Le Chatelier's principle. He was a French chemist, and his principle just helps us kind of predict in which direction a reaction will move. So he studied how equilibrium positions shift as a result of changing conditions. And basically his principle states that if stress is applied to a system in equilibrium, the system changes in a way that relieves the stress. So basically the chemical reaction, the system that's in place wants to reach equilibrium. So if you do something to change the reaction, then the system is going to move to help accommodate that change. So for example, let's say you have a chemical reaction happening that's at equilibrium, and you are able to add some reactants to it. So you add a little bit more of the ingredients to the mix. Well, that, according to Le Chatelier's principle, in order to relieve the stress, that reaction is going to move towards the right. So it's going to shift towards the products, because since there's more reactants, now it would make sense that more products will be made in order to balance out the system. All right, so just depending on the changes and the shifts in the conditions of the reaction will determine in which way the reaction moves. So it could be more towards the left, more towards the right, depending. Now this can change based on a number of things. So the amount of reactants or the amount of products, but also things like temperature and pressure can change this equilibrium of a system as well. For now, you just need to know basically the definition of Le Chatelier's principle and understand that changing conditions can shift the equilibrium of a reaction. Okay? So temperature, concentration, and pressure can all cause this to shift. And then this is just a reminder. So remember, equilibrium occurs when there's no net change. So not necessarily the same amount of products and reactants, but a point at which the products and the reactants are not changing. So remember, reactants are on the left, products are on the right. And here we have our little ants demonstrating this here as they're moving the little pebbles back and forth. Okay? So the biggest takeaway from today's lesson that we need to know, we need to remember how we can identify a chemical change. It's changing on a chemical level. We need to be able to look at a chemical reaction and identify the reactants, which are on the left-hand side, and the products on the right-hand side. And you just need to know that Le Chatelier's principle basically states that when a reaction is at equilibrium, if stress is added to the reaction, it will cause it to shift. So stress could be temperature changes, pressure changes, or concentrations of products or reactants. Okay, so you guys are going to watch a video and answer some questions that are going to help you better identify this idea of equilibrium in a chemical reaction. But as always, if you have questions, let me know, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's lesson.